it's reprehensible when the state fails at something, because for two reasons. Number one, the state shouldn't really have many responsibilities. In an ideal Big Daddy Liberty society, the state would have three roles. One, to protect us from foreign aggression. The second responsibility is to protect South Africans from domestic threats. And in that regard, I bring up a one asshat as a case in point. A one asshat, the Minister of Police, Bheki Cele. I bring him up because here's a man who's at the helm of one core area of government responsibility, and he's doing an absolute shambolic job. I then look at a headline that sort of it first just went wild on social media, and then the corporate media caught up to it. There is a fella, I'll call him a masked crusader. Not because he necessarily wears a mask like a superhero, but because all of us are forced to wear these diapers on our face. So I'll call him a masked crusader, who is allegedly on the streets of Mamelodi Township outside Pretoria with his pistol or rifle, I don't know what he uses, cleaning up the streets of Mamelodi from two rival gangs which had run and are running extortionist criminal gang rings in Mamelodi. They're extorting businesses, extorting private residences, and they're violent gangs in that part of the world. Out of the ashes of Mamelodi and out of the failure of the asshats department, the police ministry, rises an individual, allegedly, who's quite literally cleaning up the streets by executing these gang bosses and these gang leaders, often in broad daylight in the Mamelodi. Now, please bear in mind, even as I say this, I don't say this to condone it. I don't say this because I'm saying, yay, John Wick. I have no view on that in that sense, except to say this is what is happening right now. This chap has divided the community to an extent. In the one sense, there are residents of Mamelodi who are saying, finally, someone who's actually dealing with these gang members who terrorize us with a wanton disregard for law enforcement, and also terrorize us in the context where law enforcement is failing us as residents of Mamelodi. So he's got a yay crowd. And then he has a boo crowd. A boo crowd is those who, to an extent, recognize what this guy's doing, but are upset at it because they still believe that the state should be the ones who are actually doing this job. So how the corporate media is presenting this guy is that somehow he is, how dare he do this? He's an aberration. You know, he should be leaving this to Bheki Cele and the South African police services. The same police services which is already admitted via the police commissioner, that they're simply unable to execute their mandate of protecting South Africans. But anyway, that's another issue for another day. Number one, vigilantism in this country is not new. It's not new. And the culture around vigilante behavior is ironically one that was given to us by the ANC and the liberation movements in the late 70s through the 80s and 90s. The notion, for example, of disregarding the state's role in enforcing the law, forming a mob, and with that mob, much like what is a kangaroo court, administering justice on the street and dispensing punishment on the street too. Often, as you'll often see in most cases, via burning people alive using a burning tire around the neck, or beating people to death with rocks, stones, and the like. I've seen myself, having grown up in Elokshini, Emlazi, outside Durban, I've seen cases of this before. Are you really surprised when you see and you hear that there is a character named John Wick who's taking it upon himself to literally clean up the streets of the city? And what raised my hackles this week was two news pieces I saw. Number one was the latest hit he did on a criminal leader of the Boko Haram gang. And after that, the police come out and issue a statement saying, well, with this latest hit by this alleged John Wick character, we the police are now going to put together a crack team or detectives in order to find this guy and bring him to justice. Now, I asked myself the question, as I'm sure most Mamelodi residents ask themselves the question too, how is it possible that you'll put together a crack team of detectives to find John Wick, but you have failed to do that in reining in the criminal gangs of Boko Haram and the Bafarasai? How is that possible? How does that not lend itself to the ongoing perception that the South African government, the ANC government, seemingly is quite happy to defend criminals? Not to say that John Wick isn't a criminal. I mean, he's a murderer. Let's be brutal. Let's be frank. He might be murdering people who we believe are, violent criminals, but it's still murder, what he's doing. But the point I'm getting at is, how is it possible that the morality is selective? The priorities are selective by the police. Where people are being terrorized by criminals, not a peep by SAPS. But the moment someone from the community, presumably, rises up and starts hitting these criminal gangsters, literally putting bullet holes between their eyes, then suddenly SAPS comes up and says, yeah, we're going to put together a crack team of detectives from the provincial blah, 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 and the special command blah, 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 in order to go after this guy. How does that not leave a bitter taste in the mouth of residents who are literally saying, where the hell are the SAPs? Why is it that policing resources are efficient when it comes to demanding masks or policing people at the beach? But when it actually comes to tackling real crime in this country, dololo police in this country, instead you have a minister of commiseration, the asshat, literally visiting families where people have been killed. That seems to be the best thing he's able to do. Because he sure as hell isn't policing.